Hello and welcome to the Joy of Junk. In this episode I'm going to be showing you how you can buy yourself beautiful, handsome bedroom furniture which is antique for less than the price of a packet of supermarket peanuts. I'm going to show you how you can refurbish a bedroom and knock hundreds or even £1,000 off the cost. And I'm even going to show you how you can help to save the planet. That's not bad for one episode. Imagine what I could do with an entire series. And this is my room 26.
It's only 1.5 meters wide, that's about 5 feet at its narrowest. So we're going to knock out the partition wall to the bathroom next door and make this cramped little single into a spacious double with ensuite.
We'll have new wallpaper, new carpet, new electrics. It's going to be wonderful. And we're going to furnish it with, believe it or not, you'll understand this later when you see it happening, recycled antique furniture in an Edwardian style. And it's going to be wonderful. And having shown you room 26 and the stud wall from that side, now you've got to come with me and I'll show you the stud wall from the other side. Come with me, come with me. Come into this bathroom. It used to be absolutely beautiful, but not anymore. It's in desperate need of refurbishment. We've got mould on the walls, we've got peeling wallpaper, we've got verdigris around the taps. It's horrible. And that's the stud wall which we're going to be knocking out. And eventually, where we are now, this is going to be a superb, great big double bedroom with a new ensuite, a new shower, a new toilet. It's going to be beautiful. But anybody at all can refurbish a room. What's going to be special about the Joy of Junk is how we're going to be saving money, we're going to be using recycled items, and we're going to be salvaging beautiful antique furniture from down the local rubbish tip. Now come with me and take a look at my toilet, if you'll pardon the expression. This is my lovely Victorian toilet. I've been proud of this for years. But in this tiny little bog, we're going to have a new shower, we're going to have a shower curtain, we're going to have ventilation, we're going to have a heater, and we're also going to still have enough space for the toilet as well. How we're going to do that is going to be innovative, and you will just love some of the design innovations which I'll be using in this room.
Only the most skilled and experienced experts can achieve the impossible. I've known this one for years. He's Jamie the decorator.
So, Jamie, your mission impossible today is this. As you know, we've got a little bedroom and a great big bathroom, and the intention is to knock out the wall between the two and to combine them to make one big handsome double bedroom and a small ensuite. And we're going to be knocking out the stud wall between the two. Have you had a look? What problems have you found?
Well, I've had a look, Greg, and this stud wall here is fine. It'll come out very easily. It's just plasterboard screwed to timber. I think if we take that stud wall out first and then investigate this as we go to work out how structural it is.
Right, because we don't actually know how much of this is structural and it's load bearing.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good idea. Knock the hell out of it, rip it all out, and then once it's all out, we'll know what's what.
That's it, yeah, exactly.
Great. Better get on with it then.
That's right.
Right.
Let's do it.
Room 26 had a mattress on top of a converted sideboard cupboard because the room was so tiny I couldn't insert a dressing table. I'm glad it's going, and visitors to hotels these days really do expect a bit more space. Young James is here to help Jamie Senior with the carrying down the stairs whilst Spartacus the dog supervises. Any professional needs a role model, and for me the ultimate has to be St. Basil of Torquay. In truth, St. Basil is more representative of hoteliers than most of us like to let on. Dismantle everything carefully. A lot of this stuff will be reused when the room is rebuilt. Then Jamie starts ripping off the plasterboard. Always be careful with stud walls. Don't knock them out unless a professional tells you they're not load bearing. And as we knock out the bedroom wall on the other side of the bathtub, we discover a water pipe has been leaking for years. That's a good fault to discover and to rectify. This part of the job is satisfying because a lot is happening very quickly. I wish this stuff was as quick to build. Clear yourself plenty of floor space so you don't fall over the rubbish.
Ah, this is beautiful. I knew this room was going to be big enough for a double bed, but I didn't dare to think that it would actually look as impressively huge as this. You've done a good job here.
Oh, thanks, Greg.
There's a lot of work in here. So was any of that stud wall structural, or is it all going to fall down, or are we safe standing
here? I think
here?
we're safe, yeah, because the joists run straight off of that wall, right the way across onto the external wall. So
Thank heaven.
we managed to get it all out without any problems. There's just one more job left to do.
What's that?
To get all this rubbish down to the tip, Greg.
Oh, right. That's where I come in.
Yeah.
Is this bit small enough for me to carry downstairs?
We'll normally put them in the bucket.
Right, okay. Right, here we go. I'll get loading up then.
Only throw away the stuff which is completely useless. We subsequently reused some of the longer pieces of timber from the stud wall when we made our new ensuite. Hiring a skip is an option for a much bigger job, but I've got a better solution. My 1958 Austin A35, plus a roof rack and some rope. Always tie this stuff on very firmly. We don't want it shifting in transit. Bung what you can inside the car or in the boot to keep the car's centre of gravity as low as you can. My 1958 Austin is a smashing little urban runabout, which is exactly the job it was meant for when it was first designed about 60 years ago. Politicians tell us it's greener to use public transport. Clearly they've never tried to board a bus with a couple of hundredweight of timber, sacks of rubble and plasterboard. Usually I drive my Austin and Spartacus sits in the back, but sometimes I sit in the back and I let Spartacus do the driving. In a future episode we'll take another old Austin and rebuild it with modern parts, demonstrating that a recycled car is greener than a new one. I'm off to the local council rubbish tip, or as it's known in newspeak, the recycling centre. As Spartacus watches, I remove the rope and choose a skip. Follow the signs to find the correct place to chuck your rubbish. The eco-warriors with yellow jackets will guide you to the right skip. The operators at the dump sell on a lot of the furniture which is thrown away, so I'm having a good look because I need a lot for our new room 26. I've picked up a load of paint and varnish for free. I'll explain all about this later. This black office chair has caught my eye. I don't need one myself, but a good buddy does. Room 26 needs Art Deco or Victorian wood, and there isn't any today, but this chair is sound, and the eco-warriors flog it to me for a £5. So I carry a £5's worth of chair and a £10's worth of free paint back to my car, and I help the dump operators to reach their recycling targets, an impressive 86% for last year. And then it's back home again with Spartacus enjoying every minute of the journey. And so do I. There's really only one reason why people own classic cars. It's because people really enjoy the experience, even when they've got problems. My Austin's problem is that the 50-year-old radiator is choked with crud and sometimes the engine overheats. So I stop beside the road and drain off the boiling water. But it only takes a minute to refill with fresh water. My Austin is slowly being restored as a racing car from the 50s, as used by the Speedwell team. I found this aerial dish in a bin with exactly the right double curvature, so I drilled it out to resemble the Speedwell S symbol. So I closed the bonnet, gunned the engine, and we're on our way again. This is a recycled car with a recycled chair, and an afternoon at the council tip becomes a little adventure for me and Mr. Dog. Who could want for more?
So unfortunately, all that time down the dump, I didn't manage to find one piece of furniture which we're actually going to use in that room. But the good news is this: I'm ahead of you, and I've been saving up bits of furniture for the past few months. This is one piece of furniture which I bought some months ago, and I've been keeping it ready for this very day. This is a late 19th or early 20th century dressing table, and it's made of solid oak. It's beautiful. I paid £5 for it down the dump, and I'm going to restore it. You're going to see how I'm doing it, and it's going to be beautiful when it's done. And I'll show you how you can tell whether a dressing table or another piece of furniture is Victorian, Edwardian, or maybe much later. For one thing, this Victorian dressing table has got some machine-cut carving on it, which is beautiful and is typical of the era. Another thing to look for if you're trying to date your piece of furniture is if it's got the original handles. Anything that's Victorian or Edwardian will tend to have pressed metal handles like this. Dead giveaway, typical of the era. And number 3, plywood. Now, plywood started to be used in Victorian times, middle of the 19th century, and after the 20th century started, they started to use more, and at the end of the First World War, they used it in phenomenal amounts because of the amount that was left over, war surplus at the end of the war. Now, in this piece of furniture, you've only got plywood in 2 places. You've got it at the bottom of the drawer, you've also got it at the back of the piece of furniture. As little plywood as that tends to indicate early 20th century, maybe the last part of the 19th century. And when it's finished, that is going to be delicious. And this is a late Victorian headboard. It's beautiful. It's made of solid oak, no plywood at all. This one cost me only £6. In our room, we're going to have a modern bed to keep in with the modern fire regulations. But this, and when you see it varnished and restained, is going to be a centerpiece for the entire room.
Rubbing down a dressing table by hand could easily take you 3 or 4 hours, so invest in a cheap electric sander for the big flat surfaces and finish the small details by hand. About 1 hour should see the job complete.
So having rubbed it down back to the beautiful original wood, we're now going to do the wood staining. And what I've got here is I've got a pot of very high quality, highly expensive wood stain, which I got for free from the local council tip. And how I'm going to stain it is this. I take a little dab of thinners, a little dab of wood stain, as little as you possibly humanly can, and then you paint it on and you brush it out and you make it as thin as you possibly can. You need to give it 3 coats, but at the end of it, it'll be impervious to water and it'll be lovely. It's so simple, even an idiot can do it. But as we don't have an idiot, we're going to use a monkey.
All of this wood stain came from the dump where the operators like to give it away for free. You're doing them a favour because stuff like paint is regarded as toxic and it's expensive to recycle. The key to doing a good job is to apply the wood stain heavily thinned with white spirit, almost like coloured water. Apply as little as you possibly can, just enough to lightly recolour the surface. Then set aside the furniture to dry, possibly overnight. Repeat this process a total of 3 times and all the streakiness will disappear. You're not repainting the furniture as you would with household gloss, you're simply recolouring the wood grain, and we still want to see its beauty, not obliterate it with a solid coat. My advice is only to use oil-based coatings. Acrylic or waterborne works well on a timber floor. On antique furniture, only oil-based stain and varnish will flow out and produce a natural finish. And if Mr. Monkey can do it, so can you. Now here's what to do with an old fire extinguisher. If you've got a commercial premises, your annual inspection will sometimes see an extinguisher condemned. It could be recycled or it could go to landfill, but I prefer to save some money. Buy yourself an angle grinder. Follow the safety instructions, mark a line around the extinguisher with some tape, slice around the extinguisher, combine the bottom half with an unwanted item from your kitchen and bingo! You've got a cigarette bin. And because a new ciggy bin costs about the same as a new angle grinder, you've effectively got yourself an angle grinder for free. Now that's smoking!
So today's a big day when we finally get to do our waterworks. And here to help me is the master plumber himself, Akuma. How's it going, Akuma?
Yeah, not bad. We've got the sink out. We're going to get rid of the cistern and we're going to get rid of the pan because the shower tray will be in this space here.
Great. We've got very little space here, so we definitely need to have that toilet out. Do you want to have a go there?
Yeah. Yeah, it's paused.
It's still attached. It came away, that's all right.
Yeah, we got it out. We got her out.
So that's the new toilet and shower room going quite well. But what we've got the bigger problem with is in here, in room 26 itself. And here to help me is Gareth, the master plumber.
Hi.
Hello. So, where do you reckon the best place is for the toilet?
I'd say the toilet would be best placed around there. We've got an original saw stack there, so if we pipe it through the wall there and have it facing this direction.
I love that because it's got simplicity as its virtue. Okay, pick it up, bung it there, let's see how it goes.
So, around about there.
Now, what we've got here is the original size of a piece of vinyl that was in the bathroom before we knocked down the stud wall. I wonder if we can manage to keep our new ensuite to approximately that kind of size. Now, what I've got here is a shower tray, which I bought a couple of years ago down the dump, and it only cost me £3. And that's a lot cheaper than maybe 60, 80 or £100 or more, which you would pay out for a new one. Now, if I place this one here, that's nice, you know, because what we've got there is the original dimensions of that piece of vinyl. So if we've got a door there, more or less where you're looking, you can step in through the door, take a shower there. This is small. This is good. This is small in a virtuous way. I like this. Weeks later, and we're finally getting somewhere with my radiator. This is the old one which has been taken out, and I've got the new one already fitted to the car, and it runs cool. And the beauty of having an old car like this is that this radiator is now going to be sent off to the manufacturer, where it's going to be refurbished and then sent out to another person with an old Austin so that they can use it. And that's exactly how I got my radiator. That is recycling at its most sensible and its greenest, and you can't get that with a new car. And at the same time, I've had some full race safety harnesses fitted into the car, which are safer than a conventional lap type belt such as you've got on your car, because in the event of my car flipping onto its roof, I'm safe. If you do that in your car, then the only crumple zone you've got for safety between the roof and your body is your neck.
You alright, Greg? Do you want to come and see what me and John are doing, bringing these walls into the 21st century?
Great. So what's happening today? What's your recipe?
Right, we're going to knock up some plaster, and then we're going to fill these patches up here, and then we're going to plasterboard that wall there.
I can see that that one's all nicely dampened down and everything. Why are you using plasterboard on that wall rather than plaster?
Because it's a lot quicker, cheaper, and you get a lot better finish.
I'm all in favour of something as quick and as cheap and as finished properly.
That's it.
I'm glad that you know what you're doing, because I don't. Right, off you go.
Okay.
Plastering is like brain surgery. It's easy to do it yourself, but if you want it done properly, hire a professional. But this time there's no harm in trying. Simply buy yourself a bag of plaster and mix it with water according to the instructions in the packet. Always make sure the wall is sound, nothing loose or flaking. Dampen the wall to improve adhesion. Slap on the plaster with a trowel as evenly as you can. There are two types of plaster: undercoat plaster, like this, which doesn't need to be perfectly smooth, and top coat, which does. If you can't get a smooth finish, either hire a professional like Jamie, or do what I do: slap loads of Artex on top. In the meantime, John is removing the old wallpaper. Dampen it to make it easier to peel. Scoring the surface of the undercoat will allow the top coat to adhere properly. And what do you reckon, Jamie?
Another quality job.
And whilst they're all doing that upstairs, come on up the stairs, because I want to show you something very special. Come on up. And in here, we've got a pigeon, real live pigeon, and she's in the process of laying some eggs. A year ago, a mummy pigeon came in through my window and laid some eggs on my carpet, and I thought they'll get bust there, so I put them in the box, and a few weeks later, mummy pigeon and baby pigeon flew away, and like any happy holiday maker in a hotel in Bournemouth, she's come back again this year. And inside this box, we've got mummy pigeon, and she's sitting on some eggs. Little animals keep coming here and laying their eggs and leaving their babies. After all, that's how we got him.
The ensuite needs a stud wall comprising 2 sheets of plasterboard on a timber frame. I'm getting the timber for free because I'm mean and green. There's a skip in the driveway of a house a mile away. The builders said they'd be happy if I took away some of their rubbish. This might be rubbish to them, but to me it's an essential planet-saving resource. So I loaded up my 1958 eco wagon, then it's back home and I stick it in a pile in my lounge, and only just in time.
Hiya Greg, have you got that timber yet?
Yes, Jamie, I've just brought it in.
Good, because we've been waiting all morning.
Free timber like this is a godsend. It cuts nicer than new timber. It allows us to use more timber than we might have done, making our structure stronger and saving money which can be better spent elsewhere.
Now, Mr. Monkey is a very good friend of mine, but I had to tell him to stop, because here's a lesson for you: never allow your pet gorilla to do any wood staining on your antique furniture, because he keeps getting his hair stuck in it. So I'm going to continue the rest of this job myself. With the metal work, it's very simple. All you require is a little light oil. You put it on a small piece of sheet, and then you rub it on the handle. And that gives it a lovely kind of semi-gloss glow, and it protects anything that's remotely ferrous in nature. And this handle is about 100 years old or more, and this is now well protected for another 100 years, and that's all you need to do. But then we come to the varnishing. Now, most people who restore antique furniture do it very, very badly indeed, because they end up with something which is clearly and obviously re-varnished by themselves. I have found the holy grail of getting the right kind of patina of age. I've done that by going around antiques auctions and looking at the furniture and thinking to myself, how can I simulate that? It's very simple, it's very cheap. And what you do is, when you're down the dump, get yourself some free varnish, and what you require is some clear satin oil-based varnish, and you put in about 6 parts of that, and you can do it by eye, it doesn't have to be exact. And then you take yourself some clear oil-based gloss varnish, and you put in maybe about 1 part, and then you add some thinners, equal in volume to the total amount of varnish you've already used, and then you mix it up so you've got a very thin, semi-matte, semi-gloss varnish, and you paint it on as thin as you possibly can. Give it 3 coats. You only need maybe 2 hours between each coat, and what you end up with is a finish like I've already done on this oak dressing table, which is now more or less complete. The finish here is semi-matte, it's semi-gloss, and if you go to an antiques auction and you find yourself a piece of oak furniture that's 100, 150 years old, and it's never been restored, but it's always been lovingly caressed and polished, that's exactly the kind of patina and finish that you're going to have. That is the holy grail of home furniture restoration of antiques. Now, here's a useful tip for recycling. Next time you're going to be throwing away a plastic bottle, make sure you take the top off first. During the last 3 years or so, I've been saving up all my bottle tops. And would you believe, I've got 12,000 of them, which I'm putting in the recycling bin now. If I had left the top on each of those bottles, assuming each bottle was an average of, say, 1 litre, and it had all gone into landfill, that would have taken up an amount of space equivalent to a small domestic swimming pool. And it's not just a matter of recycling to save the environment. There are other things that you can use bottle tops for as well. For example, if you're going to be buying yourself a new steering wheel boss, it can cost anything between £5 and £50. What you can use as an alternative is a stick-on decal and a big bottle top, and it fits just perfectly. You can also use these bottle tops as spaces behind signs and behind push plates on fire doors. That's a more useful way of using things, of saving the environment and saving yourself a whole load of money as well.
Now here's a tip about what to do with a wobbly self-assembly wardrobe which has seen better days.
Alright Greg, have you got any timber for the roof of the ensuite?
What kind of timber have you got in mind there, Jamie?
Well, I was thinking maybe an old wardrobe might do the job, Greg.
It's good to hear you say that. I've got so many of them and I want to get rid of them. If you've got some fellas who want to earn their money, let's go up there and smash one up.
Right, let's go and get one then.
Great.
No problem.
So here come John, Paul and John to dismantle the wardrobe. Honestly, I can buy much better than this from down the tip for a £5, but this wardrobe is constructed from useful sheets of chipboard which make excellent shelving and more. Alright fellas, don't ham it up. Then it's Jamie's job to slice it up. He does some measuring against the ensuite and marks a line with a biro, mainly because I trod on his pencil off camera and bust it through. Then he uses his saw to slice up the former eyesore and lays it on top of the ensuite, forming a flat roof which is useful for storage. That's an innovative design and we'll show it in use a bit later.
Now the furniture in the rest of the bedroom is Edwardian, and I haven't been able to find an Edwardian wardrobe at the dump lately. But fortunately I've got a fallback emergency reserve. It's this wardrobe. A neighbour was throwing it out about 4 years ago. I said, can I have that? They said, please take it away. And I've been using it for storage for curtains. The beauty of this is that although it's 1930s and therefore plywood with oak veneer plus a few oak stringers on it, it's still, when it's finished, going to be in the same wood and the same colour as the oak furniture in the rest of the room. So it is compatible. And look, you've got birds of paradise on it. You see that when it's finished. It's going to be lovely. And also it exactly fits the recess which we've already allowed in that room.
And now it's time to apply the wallpaper, which needs more skill than I can muster. I wish these fellas could really work this fast. They'd make a fortune. I'm going for heavy-duty embossed wallpaper which helps to cover minor imperfections in the plastering. When dry, it's given 2 coats of satin emulsion. Sometimes I use a patterned coloured wallpaper, but emulsion is very quick and easy to recoat. Whilst John finishes the painting, Jamie is finishing the shower room's false ceiling, which fits directly onto the original picture rail.
Greg, do you want to come and see the ceiling? We've finished it.
That's great, Jamie. I've been looking forward to this for ages.
Okay, Greg, we've painted the ceiling for the shower room in anti-mould white and we're going to fix it into place using these brackets.
I think that's brilliant. It should be nice and simple, but white's the wrong colour. I've got a lot of anti-mould green and anti-mould blue to use, and I think the contrast would be wonderful.
Well, I don't agree. I think it should be white because it's a lot brighter and make the room bigger.
I disagree entirely. I think the contrast will be wonderful. It'll show the shape of the room when you look up at the ceiling.
Jamie, I think it's a Jedi mind trick.
I think you're right, John. Greg, we've got to paint the ceiling white.
I think maybe we've got to paint the ceiling white.
And the decorators are doing a great job.
I think maybe you decorators are doing a great job.
And some tea and coffee will go down well too.
Tea and coffee? Yeah, I think I'll go and get you some tea and coffee.
And some biscuits.
And some biscuits.
Jamie, you're very strong on the force.
John, Greg's been Jedi.
Now, as you know, I can't walk past a skip without stopping to see what's inside. And if I can, I get hold of loads and loads of offcuts of tiles and also ends of packets because they're very useful. Every time I have a new ensuite put in, I always have an undercoat layer of tiles, because when the top coat goes on, you've got an absolutely waterproof layer of tiles which will never allow any water through to the plasterboard.
Here's John Paul applying some of the tiles which I got for free. We used about 14 square metres of free tiles in this job. All sizes and shapes are useful, including offcuts. Cover the undercoat tiles with regular topcoat tiles. It's worth the extra grout and the labour because it prevents water damaged ceilings like this, and you will never ever have a leak. John Paul is my regular tiler, but he's actually a professional hairdresser with his own salon in Bournemouth. He says he's very happy doing both jobs, but the trick with any craftsman is to use the right tools for the job.
Alright, Greg. Oh, your hair's looking a bit long, mate. Do you fancy a haircut? Okay, just put this gown around you. There you go. Okay, so what we're having today then, sir?
Anything you want, I'm happy to be in your hands, providing I don't look like Homer Simpson.
There's a lot of grey in there, isn't there?
Thanks.
But we'll cut that out anyway, okay?
Great.
Okay. Just get the scissors. Okay, Greg, I finished all the cutting. I'm just going to finish you off now.
Do you think they noticed, John?
Well, I shouldn't think so, mate. Hopefully if this goes on okay, we'll be fine. And I've got no mirrors here, so you'll be able to see the final outcome. So it won't affect his primary motor then, John? Hopefully not, mate. As long as he can get his hand in his pocket to pay his bill, that's all that matters to me. And me.
Well, it's amazing how well that's healed. It's amazing what you can fix with some masking tape and some silicone glue. But in the meantime, the fellas have finished the job.
So here's our new robust shower room and toilet. What a contrast with our previous tiny but lovely Victorian water closet. We've reused the previous toilet and sink, and it's amazing that we've compressed a shower in here as well. Using the electric heater is cheap, because the passive infrared sensor only allows it to operate when you're actually in the room. And the 6-inch fan above the shower will evacuate the steam plus any unwanted odours.
So this shower and toilet is a triumph of beautiful design, but safety has to be of paramount importance. Get it wrong and you could lose your shirt.
Let's say you've got a guest who books to stay for a week in your hotel and drives all the way from Wales in his lovely 1969 Alfa. He's been looking forward to his holiday and he's so fit, he runs upstairs with his suitcase as monkeys do. In the morning he goes to John Paul's for a haircut, and it's a big job if you're a monkey. In the afternoon he plays tennis, and because it's always sunny in Bournemouth, he works up a sweat. So he comes back to your hotel for a shower, and with his monkey towel and his monkey shampoo, he steps into the cubicle and, crucially, he removes his spectacles. And at that moment, he's technically disabled. So without his glasses, he fails to see the shower's edge, or perhaps he trips on the plastic bin and the loo brush. He falls and he smashes his monkey elbow. Mr. Monkey is in agony. He's taken to hospital with a broken arm. It's ruined his holiday. He has to hire a driver to take his Alfa back to Wales, which isn't cheap. He has to use public transport to go home, and he hates using public transport. But Mr. Monkey can't work for 6 months. And what's a monkey going to do for a job if he can't climb trees and pick bananas? So Mr. Monkey telephones a no-win, no-fee litigation company. They allege the hotelier failed to make provision for disabled guests, which includes monkeys who remove their spectacles when they're showering. So they sue him for £100,000 in damages, and because the hotelier's smart aleck insurer finds a legal loophole, he's not insured. So the hotel is seized, the hotelier loses his home and his business, and he ends up living on the street. Don't laugh! It's not funny! Tragedies like this occur every day!
So here's what I've done to make sure that never happens.
To ensure nobody trips on the shower's edge, I've got a high visibility edging strip. The bin and the toilet brush are wall mounted away from your feet. There are lots of sturdy handrails in the same colour for high visibility, plus one outside the door because the floor of this shower room has got a step. The step itself has got an anti-slip nosing in a contrasting shade. The anti-skid vinyl is in 2 shades of blue to emphasise the step. The blue tiled strip is like an artificial horizon for when there's soap in your eyes. The light has got 2 bulbs in case one goes and leaves you in the dark, and the emergency light in case it's a power cut. There's a strobe light linked to the fire alarm system in case you're deaf. The door is in green with yellow in common with other exit doors in the building. A thumb turn lock allows emergency access if the guest falls and is hurt, and it's easy for guests to use, so there are no shocking surprises for anyone. There's a temperature safety valve so nobody gets scalded, fire safety signs so you know what to do if there's a fire, plus a life belt with instructions in case the planet is hit by an asteroid causing a giant tsunami. What more do you want?
So all my friends and all my guests who use this shower and toilet are pretty safe. But I'm not just saving lives, I'm also saving the planet.
I fit non-concussive taps plus non-concussive valves to all my showers. That's to say, press for water, release for slowly off. This reduces my water consumption by about 10 to 15%. That's important in an age when water consumption is growing faster than our ability to construct new reservoirs.
So these valves don't just save me a lot of money on my water bill, they also save money on my gas bill. Because if I'm using maybe 5 or 10% less hot water, not only am I saving on my gas bill, but there's less pollutant going into the atmosphere, and that would have contributed to climate change.
And our finished room 26 is even more impressive. Cork notice boards to display local information, antique and Art Deco furniture in a lovely shade of natural wood. The furniture's colour is harmonious with the cream paintwork, easy to wipe clean and maintain, which is important if you want your guests to return next year. What a contrast with the little room we had before, with a single bed and only 5 feet wide. Remember the old wardrobe which we broke up so that Jamie could make a platform above the ensuite? This is the platform in use, an excellent place for visitors to store suitcases. I've retained the previous swivelling mirror, my own innovation and useful with a corner basin. I don't want this kind of damage to happen on plasterboard edges, so I fitted a metal edging strip to prevent it in the future. The desk and the chair were a problem. The 1920s oak chair wouldn't fit under the 1930s open pine table, which was kept away from the wall by the boxed-in water pipes. Fortunately, I had a spare grotty 1960s Formica table, plus a big piece of pine from an old cabinet. So I cut out a slot for the boxed-in water pipes with a clever hinged section secured by a bolt. The result is very bespoke, and both the table and the chair fit a treat. These lovely handles on the ensuite doors started out as chair legs. Whilst filming our title sequence, this mid-19th century walnut chair, which I bought from the dump for just £1, fell off the roof and smashed itself. But the legs make lovely handles, and the different dimensions of the hoops reveal this chair to have been handmade on a treadle, not machine carved. The lovely 19th century headboard in solid oak, £6 from the dump, is a handsome piece of work. See how the fretwork on the headboard matches the fretwork carving on the dressing table. They're both the same honey glazed colour as this oak and plywood 1920s cabinet, which I bought from the dump for £2 and restored a year ago, which again matches the lovely 1930s oak and ply wardrobe, which I got for free. Then there's the wall mirror, which I pulled out of a bin for free, and the rusty Victorian coat hooks, which I bought 5 for £1 and made good and repainted to resemble acorns, matching the oak theme of the room. The timber which boxes in this pipework was new and still wrapped in cellophane when I pulled dozens of lengths from a skip for free. Labelling on the underside reveals it's left over from the construction of Bournemouth's new magistrates' courts. As for the ensuite, it's very safe, very robust and beautiful in its simplicity. What a contrast to the previous grotty bathroom which was letting down the entire hotel. Use an old towel rail as a drying rail for ladies' smalls. This ensuite is easy to keep clean and will never leak thanks to its undercoat tiles. And look at the money I've saved! The total cost of all the antique furniture in this room was less than £20. Go to an antiques dealer and a dressing table like this could easily cost you £180. Now that's a fair price because an antique is worth as much as you're prepared to pay for it. I just think my antique dressing table is better, looks nicer and is much better value at a £5 from the local council rubbish tip.
One of the cheapest places to buy yourself new furniture is from one of those cheaper high street catalogue shops.
The nearest equivalent wardrobe, which you would assemble yourself but wouldn't be as nice, could cost you £150. The headboard would never be so handsome, but it may cost you £100. The dressing table, £125. A mirror will be an extra £50 on top. A chair for £30. A table or desk another £50, plus a wall-mounted mirror for £30. That's a grand total of well over £500, and there's a lot of difference between that and the £20 which I actually spent, and that's before we add the savings on the timber, the shower tray and all the other stuff.
So overall, I've saved more than £1,000 on this makeover by getting stuff from the dump and also out of people's skips. But I've also been saving the environment.
I'm saving water every time these sinks are used, plus these very sinks and both toilet pans originally came from down the dump. So did this shower tray, and the undercoat tiles, and this light fitting. This handrail started life as an old oar which I pulled out of a skip full of rubbish. This visibility strip and anti-slip nosing came out of bins. Remember me slicing up the fire extinguisher which would have gone to landfill? One half makes a lovely cigarette bin outside the front door. The other half makes a great wall-mounted sanitary bin, together with this broken cafetiere for the toilet brush holder. This mirror came from a bin for free. This unopened tin of paint matches the tiles and it came from the tip for free. These curtains came from a bin for free. So did the 5 unopened rolls of paper used on the ceiling. This reading lamp was thrown out when a local restaurant was being refitted. Both of these shower heads came from bins. This oak chair was £1 from the dump. Bits and pieces of rubbish were used to assemble this lovely table. And the sheer weight of this stuff is colossal. I've been weighing this stuff as we've gone along. This room has used more than 1/3 of a ton of stuff which would have gone to landfill. Stuff like timber and undercoat tiles, perfectly good stuff, ideal for reuse. Like this chair from the dump, which my buddy loves when he's using his computer, and the varnish and the paint, which is a devil of a job to recycle and saves me a packet.
So that's what this TV series is all going to be about. It's about saving stuff from landfill and saving the environment.
But it's also about starting out with tradesmen who become best mates. It's about entertainment and original thinking. It's about a quirky hotel from a parallel universe where monkeys play tennis, pigeons are tourists, ducks live in trees, monkeys go to salons to get their hair restyled, and the presenter's head is sliced off with an angle grinder, and the dog just thinks it's funny. And that's the joy of junk. I hope you enjoyed the show, and now I'm off. I'm going to play in the woods.
Bye bye.